Hi, my name's Katie Halper, and I'm the host of The Katie Halper Show, which you can hear on WBAI every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Every first Wednesday of the month, we have a special show in front of a live audience at the Brooklyn Commons Cafe at 388 Atlantic Avenue. It's totally free. Our next live show is Wednesday, May 4th. Theme is the election, disenfranchisement, where are we now and where are we going? Our guests include Jordan Chariton, the Young Turks, Premila Nadesan, the historian, Mickey Konst of the Accountability Project, Lenina Nadal from the Battle of New York, Kathleen Graves, Babes for Bernie, and for the first time ever, we're going to be having a speak out right before the live show. You'll be able to share your stories about your experiences with the election, with the New York primary, or ideas for moving forward, and have them recorded on video and live streamed. See you this Wednesday, May 4th at 7:30 p.m. for our live panel discussion and talk show. And if you have anything you'd like to record or share on live stream, see you at 6 p.m. at the Brooklyn Commons at 388 Atlantic Avenue.
Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Katie Halper Show. You might have noticed by now that this is not Katie Halper's voice because I'm Gabe Pacheco, her loyal sidekick, and I'm starting off the show today. I'm here in the building at 6 p.m. I'm here with Reggie Johnson once again. How you doing, Reggie?
Hey, Gabe.
Oh, yes. So, Reggie, can I tell you right now that on my way here, I got off the subway, and I got off at Flatbush and DeKalb.
Okay.
And I just wanted to bring this up because I saw that the Verizon strike is still happening.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm just bringing it up right now because it doesn't seem like it's being covered at all in the mainstream media.
Oh, no, it's not being covered at all.
So that's why we're here at WBAI, to bring you the news that you're not going to get anywhere else.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. And you know something else? What I noticed was that there was some honking, and there were some people that were inconvenienced in their cars by the strike. Right. But generally, everyone on the sidewalks was rooting for the striking Verizon workers.
That's good.
Yes, yes. It really felt like they were bringing the community together. And another thing about that is it's always a good time to strike. There's never a right time to inconvenience the boss, but you got to do it sometimes. You got to say, hey.
It's a necessity.
It's like in a relationship, right? You got to sometimes. You never want to hear your partner say, hey, wait a minute, we need to have a talk. But you don't get to progress the relationship to that next level without that, hey, wait a minute, we got to have a talk.
Sometimes it's necessary.
Exactly. Thank you, Reg. I feel like we're on the same page.
Well, yeah, I don't act like it at times, but more times than most, we're on the same page.
Now, Reg, you know something else? We here at the Katie Halper Show. That's you, me, and Katie Halper. We're gonna do a live show next week.
What?
Yes. So this is an opportunity for all of our loyal fans to come here. To 388 Atlantic Avenue to the cafe.
Commons Cafe.
That's right, the Commons Cafe. We're going to be on the first floor, and we're going to have all sorts of tasty beverages. There might be some white wine. There's going to be a whole bunch of empanadas and delicious salads. I just had a great salad from the Commons earlier today. And that's why I'm so perky and energetic. You got to get your roughage, everybody. You got to get your roughage. So the live show is going to be at 7:30 p.m. So be here at 7:30 p.m. The live shows are always fantastic. We have great guests. There's some interactive components to it.
Who's going to be on next week?
Next week, we are going to have a bunch of people. Premila Nadesan, who is a historian and professor. We talked to her a couple weeks ago about the Clintons and racism and welfare. Is this thing on, by the way? Is this thing loud? Can you guys hear me?
I got you.
Okay, you got me?
Loud and clear, Katie.
Awesome. I can't hear my thing. Hi, guys, by the way. I'm sorry I'm late. I had train troubles, and you know what happened after? Let me tell you what happened after. Something that men probably don't understand unless they do figure skating or wear leggings. I'm wearing tights right now Dear listeners, close your eyes. Imagine I'm wearing tights.
I can verify that with my 2 eyes.
Gabe can verify it.
And my Warby Parker frames.
And his Warby Parker frames. And just as I can verify his salad, which I'll take a screenshot of, post it on the Twitters and Instagram.
Hashtag living healthy.
Hashtag living healthy and hashtag KT Helps Show, right? So that's our hashtag. It's KTHALPS.
It's all about the branding.
SHOW.
It's all about the branding.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle. It's not a radio show. It's a lifestyle,
It
folks.
is. It's
Get
not
involved.
a diet. It's a live it.
Yeah.
And so I was running from the train because it was delayed. And then this thing happens when you wear tights sometimes and they fall. They start falling. And it's the closest thing to torture that discomfort can be. I'm not trivializing torture, but I'm saying it's the closest it gets. It's such imagine that. Are you guys like annoyed by the sound of nails on a chalkboard?
Yeah.
So imagine a physical manifestation of that. That's basically what it's like when your tights are or your leggings are falling down. Anyway, so next week when we're having our live show, it's going to be so great. We're going to have Kathleen Graves, who's the founder of Babes for Bernie, which is this amazing Instagram. No, it's a movement. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's a state of mind. It's an Instagram account, and it's a hashtag. And they have over 24,000 followers. And they do all this. They just come out and kind of like organize around Bernie Sanders. They have really cute swag like bags and shirts and pins and tattoos.
These tattoos, they're great temporary tattoos.
Yes.
And I've seen, actually, there's an Instagram photo of you rocking one of those Babes for Bernie neck tattoos.
Neck tat. I got a neck tat.
Yeah.
And they have things like bags and pins that say "Talk Bernie to me." What else? I can't remember. Then some don't even have puns. They're just like, "Be kind, vote Bernie Sanders." Anyway, so she's going to be participating. Premila Naddison's going to be participating. We have a couple more guests, and we will name some of them throughout the show to keep you guys hooked. But anyway, we have a great show for you tonight. We have a great show coming up. I can't even tell you what a great show we have.
It's pretty stupendous.
It's pretty stupendo.
Well, the first guy we have is actually going to be a guest from the Young Turks,
Yeah,
right?
we have a back-to-back Young Turks thing going on tonight.
Double Young Turks.
Double Young Turks. So we have Young Turk twins. And I actually did their show, the Young Turk show, which was really great fun last week. And we're going to be talking to Jordan Chariton, who is a political reporter for the Young Turks, and he's covered the shenanigans in New York, and he was in Rhode Island last night. Then we're going to be talking to Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore? Jimmy Dore?
Is it Jimmy Dore?
Jimmy Dore.
It's really Jimmy Dore?
It's Jimmy Dore.
Wow, okay. Jimmy Dore.
It's Jimmy Dore.
Jimmy Dore. Sorry, Jimmy, if you're listening.
I like him.
Yeah, he's a great guy, right?
Yeah, I like
Totally
him.
nice.
I like his show.
I like his show too, and I got a lot of comments because the Young Turks has a huge following, and so one of the nice things that they said was, one of the people in the comments was like, she's like a female Jimmy Dore. Adorable,
really?
Yeah.
Adorable.
And we'll talk more about that.
Play
And
on
he's a
words.
comedian and the host of the Jimmy Dore show and a correspondent of the Young Turks. But let us now speak to Jordan Chariton. Are you there, Jordan?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good, you?
Great.
I just sounded really Irish. Are you there, Jordan?
I am.
Good. I'm here with Gabe Pacheco, my co-host,
Howdy.
my partner in crime, and Reggie Johnson, the engineer in
Hello.
residence.
Hey,
And
guys.
how you doing? Everyone say hello.
Yes.
And then we're going to be talking to your compatriot afterwards, Jimmy Dore. It's Jimmy Dore,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, Reggie, I told you it was Jimmy Dore. You were like Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dory. You have to get it together.
Yeah, really.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah.
It was me, not him. So, Jordan, can you tell us about what you've been covering? Because you're on the campaign trail, right? And you were...
Yeah, I just got back from Rhode Island, actually, like 15 minutes ago.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for... You see what he did? He scheduled around the Katie Halper show because he has his priorities in line. Am I right?
Evidently.
Exactly.
Évidemment. So, can you tell us what happened in Rhode Island?
Yeah, I mean, Governor Gina Raimondo, who in the past has called Hillary Clinton her idol, her state decided to close 2/3 of its polling stations. So there were about 34 fewer polling stations open compared to 2008. Not just the fact that there were less polling stations, but as a result of that, people had to drive much further on average to get to their polling stations. Obviously, that affects low-income neighborhoods, students. Brown University, for example, yesterday not only did the students not know where the hell to go, but it was a 20-minute walk for them, and it happened to be raining.
Oh, wow.
So most students, in the middle of their day, might not want to walk 20 minutes to vote. But they closed 2 out of 3 polling stations. They chalked it up to, around the same as they had in 2008, even though it was much less than that. And the results show that it did what I believe they intended. There was a 36% drop in turnout among Democrats compared to 2008.
But the victory went to
Bernie Sanders.
So despite that, that's a nice, inspiring tale, right?
I mean, it depends how you look at it, right? 36% drop. So if the polling stations were even close to the levels that they were previously, that margin of victory could have been even bigger.
Right.
It could have went the other way as well. I don't have Nate Silver's sixth sense, so I don't really know the exact data.
538 cents.
Yes, but it could have negatively affected minority communities, which have tended to vote more towards Hillary Clinton's way.
Right.
But in this year, particularly since Rhode Island gave Trump such a huge victory, and some of the people I spoke to there, I think on both sides, Rhode Island was kind of giving the finger to the establishment. So I think if there were more polling areas, you could have seen a bigger margin for Bernie. I should say also, I went to about 7 or 8 polling places yesterday in Rhode Island. Within about a 1.5-mile radius, there were 3 polling stations in the wealthiest area of the province. So polling places were cut, just not for the wealthy.
Got it. So I kind of appreciate how open that is, like how overt that is.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah, big ups to them for being transparently classist and disenfranchising of poorer people. And can you tell us about New York and the shenanigans, if you would call them shenanigans there, and what recourse there is, if any at all?
Yeah, so I was actually the only reporter out on the primary day 2 weeks ago that covered the emergency lawsuit that was filed. It was filed on behalf of Election Justice USA, which is a voting rights group, and it basically was against the New York Board of Elections because of the widespread voter purge that has gone on in New York. Brooklyn has got most of the attention in the media, but it's happened in other areas as well. Long Island, Westchester, Queens, Bronx. And the Board of Elections, they've been throwing people under the bus now. A clerk in the Brooklyn office got suspended. They're claiming it was a clerical error that, threw over 100,000 people off the rolls. So this election justice group filed a lawsuit, and it's basically calling for all provisional ballots that were cast to be counted. We don't know how many provisional ballots have been cast because New York State Board of Elections, New York City's Board of Elections, and all the counties that have been sued are dragging their feet to do their audit. They have to audit the count the provisional ballots. There's also the fact that the New York establishment, by and large, is very much in the tank for Hillary Clinton. So the judge in the case, there was supposed to be a hearing this Thursday, the second hearing. It's now been canceled. The judge granted the defendant more time. What they need more time for, who knows?
To shred the affidavits, probably.
Yes, basically.
Right.
Essentially, the Board of Elections does not want to release a lot of the information, a lot of the documents that would show how many people were purged in how many different areas, and would show, very egregious things. I mean, I met several individuals in New York, whether it was in October when they had to change party affiliation, which is a form of suppression in itself. New York has the earliest deadline to change your party affiliation of any state. I met people that got it, did it on October 9th, which was the deadline, and were told they got in the mail we didn't receive it till October 13th, so you can't change party affiliation.
Right.
Some brave souls actually went down on primary day to get a court order in front of a judge so that they could vote, and found out that the Board of Elections actually had that wrong and that it actually was received on time. So at the end of the day, whether it is just a closed primary system, New York's party establishment does not want as many voters as possible to vote. That's why they have the deadline in October. Most young people that might vote for Bernie Sanders are not paying attention in October, 6 months before a primary, that they have to change their affiliation. So essentially, there is a chance that the provisional ballots might get cast, but the judge, in allowing this delay, essentially is kicking the can down the road. Their goal, I think, is to kick the can down the road till after the election results get certified, which nothing can be done then.
And when is the certification?
It's supposed to be on May 5th, but I've been told today that that's now up in the air, and they might move it up or move it back.
Well, they can't move it up. I mean, we should be in the streets, right? This is the thing.
Yes, absolutely. There actually was protest outside the Brooklyn Board of Elections about last week when they had their first, when election justice went down and actually formally added the New York City Board of Elections as a defendant in the lawsuit. But basically the Board of Elections, whether it was intentional and nefarious behavior or just, a mass incompetence, really screwed up. What the judge, I believe, might say is, okay, even if we counted all the provisional ballots, it's not going to change the results of the election, and it would take weeks, if not months, at taxpayer expense, because there's a lot of logistical things that need to be done with that.
Like democracy and enfranchisement are so expensive. What the heck?
Right.
Like, why should we spend money on those things?
And also, we should add in that all these people that are both overseeing investigations and overseeing audits are either delegates for Hillary Clinton or have come out and campaigned for her. The governor is a big supporter. The mayor, a big supporter.
So
the attorney general is filing, opening an investigation.
Right, the comptroller.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a joke.
So we're going to be talking actually with Jordan Moore next week. You were going to confirm that, not to put you on the spot. Do you think you can do it, Jordan?
I could do it.
Yes. That was my plan the whole time, was to get him to come in on the air. But Jordan, thank you so much for talking to us, and we're going to talk to you more next week. Come down to this live event, guys. Jordan was on the front lines. He was at the ground zero of disenfranchisement headquarters. And we did, just so you know, Jordan, we had Jonathan Clark on the show last week. He came into the studio and talked to us about it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Great.
And, we will see you. Thank you again so much for talking to us. You can find Jordan at Twitter.
Yes, at Jordan Chariton. And for my reporting for the Young Turks, it's TYT Politics on YouTube.
Great. TYT Politics. And thanks again. And you guys can hear from Jordan next Wednesday, because our live show will be live streamed. And we're probably going to ask some people to talk about their disenfranchising experiences. It'll be like a testimony gathering. And it'll be live streamed, and then we'll play it on the radio the next week. So thank you so much, Jordan. Have a great night.
Have a good one.
And thanks for all your work, important work.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Katie, that was outrageous. Was outrageous.
Oh, this is what I wanted to say that we didn't say. See, it's funny. I did the Young Turks the night of the primary, and it was like a delayed reaction, because we spoke to Jonathan Clark, who's running for Congress. He's the lawyer who filed the lawsuit against the Board of Elections. It took me like a day for it to really sink in what had happened, because here's the thing. Lots of people are saying there's this real narrative about this is only affecting white hipsters.
Get over it. And it's like especially annoying when white people say it, because I'm like, you don't even have any skin in this. Like, just shut up, okay? I know you're trying to seem woke or down, or you're just a shillery probably, but first of all, you're doing that thing that we had a show about, Bernie Made Me White, which is that you're invisibilizing the people of color who do support him. And then people are like, oh, this is just about a bunch of like hipster white kids not getting their stuff together to change parties. Why didn't they register in time?
Exactly. But you know what? That's one issue. And there's closed versus open primaries. That's a legit issue. That's not illegal. What is illegal is either intentionally or through incompetence, not provide losing these people's voting,
and then also not keeping the affidavits. It just makes me feel like we need a third party, an objective third party, a UN mediating delegation to show up, some like a multinational New World Order organization to come with the blue helmets and count the votes for us. That's nonpartisan.
Exactly, and maybe that could be Bernie Sanders. Why not? He better be a new party. But again, don't let people conflate the issues. One is purging voters. We know of at least 126,000. That's one issue. And the other issue is open versus closed primaries. But don't even try. So, people have been tweeting, like, I'll find it. But there was this famous angry black woman, Imani. You guys know her? She's on big Twitter player.
Yeah, I've heard of her.
And she tweeted something about, how it's, you guys just care about it when it's, you don't care about disenfranchisement when it affects the people who are real. You know what? Before I take someone on the radio, I should probably be able to quote her. So I'll get that to you guys later. Do you like those journalistic ethics that I just adopted? But seriously, it's not an either or. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not either or, and that's what we're going to be talking about next Wednesday during our live show, is how we connect the disenfranchisement that already happened, what we do moving forward, and also how we connect it to other major disenfranchisement movements across the country, which, of course, do target people of color and poor people. All right. So, is Jimmy Dore on the line?
No.
We're so excited to be talking to him. Not yet, but he's coming around the mountain. And Jimmy Dore, in case you don't know, Gabe, have you know Jimmy? He's a legend, right?
Yes.
He has a show on Pacifica. That's our station. It's the mothership of WBAI. And his show is called The Jimmy Dore Show, which is interesting because I have the Katie Halper show. That's kind of cool. He has a very funny album, book. Your country's just not that into you. And how are we on the number? Do we need a?
Wait, just keep talking.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, and he is one of the hosts of the Young Turks. So last week, actually, when I spoke to him, it was really funny because he said to me, "So what happens next? It looks like New York lost. And by the way, New York losing is really, or having appeared to have lost, is really important because I think people really saw that as a litmus test." For whatever reason, and I think that really slowed a lot of the momentum, which is messed up, especially if it turns out that he either didn't lose or lost by less than we think. 1 second. Let me just... Gabe, can you tell us, by the way, how you're feeling right now about the election? Just your thoughts, just emotionally, what this is doing to you.
Well, I have this really interesting... my friend posted on Facebook an image of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Ivana all like smiling and having a good time together. And it just made me feel like, oh, well, right now, if the race between the two leading candidates is those two, if it's going to be Hillary and Trump, it's kind of like we're just looking at it's like an inner family battle between two members of the oligarchy.
Right.
And so that's that. I don't know how much... she's not inspiring me that much. And as much as we're told to fear Trump and think that he's a villain and that he's so extreme, if they're standing around smiling and breaking bread together, then how far away from the threat that he presents is she?
Well, overt corruption versus subvert corruption. That's what it seems.
Covert versus overt, yeah.
Yeah, covert versus.
I mean,
yeah.
I've literally never felt so. I always, I was raised by lefties. I always got that Democrats and Republicans were too similar to each other, but it was kind of a no-brainer for me that there was a difference. It wasn't a big enough difference, but there was a difference there, right?
Sure.
That was always how I saw it. I have to say, this Bernie Sanders thing, and seeing that someone is out there who's a real alternative has radicalized me. Not intellectually, I always knew this, but it has radicalized me on a visceral level, an emotional level. I feel like I'm born again.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was like there were more candidates in the race. As much as it's Bernie, it's more like what
It's
he
the
represents
movement, right.
more,
And
or like a Jill Stein.
Yeah,
Throw
we're
her
gonna,
in there.
And Jill Stein, well, we'll talk about her in a second. But speaking of the movement, do we have Jimmy on the line?
Yes, we do.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, how you doing, Katie?
Good, you? You good? He's playing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, good. Okay, I can hear you.
Great. So I don't know if you heard this, Jimmy, but I was saying earlier that when I did the Young Turks last week, I got lots of feedback. Oh, it was actually very good, except for one woman who diagnosed me very specifically as having done codeine or weed before the show. But she was like she diagnosed it. She was like, her eyes go this way. She's looking this way. I mean, I wasn't. I was just high on life and high on Bernie Sanders. And but another comment I got was, she's like the female Jimmy Dore. So exciting moment for me. Maybe shameful moment for you. But
I'm gonna think that means that you make your points very clearly and concisely,
yes.
and it's irrefutable.
Right, and with charm and humor.
There you go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Charm and humor.
I'm glad we can all agree on that. And you are here. We are here with Gabe Pacheco, stand-up comedian, and my partner in crime.
Howdy.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
I feel great. Thanks for asking.
And Reggie Johnson on the engineering keyboards.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, Reggie. Hey, how did you enjoy Hillary's speech last night? Wasn't it fantastic?
I mean, not a dry eye in the house.
She's as inspiring. She is as inspiring as a laundromat pamphlet.
Oh my! I don't know. I think you're overselling her. Actually,
Just like
I'm not sure I can stand by that comment.
Yeah, it's like
I think, they say Hillary she campaigns in verse, and believe me, she's going to govern in reverse.
Oh no! Yeah, I mean, nice. What happened, Jimmy? Tell us what you think is going on now. Tell us the steps forward. There's so much we could talk about, but what are you feeling right now? How's the mood?
I guess I'm still excited in a sense that, we've woken up a bunch of people, right? So there really is a movement. I think it really did start with Occupy, or maybe even earlier. I think people, the thing is, Bernie Sanders is the guy we thought Barack Obama was.
Yeah, totally.
And people don't get that. And it's funny, it's just you can't fight back against that kind of establishment media. And when people have been beaten down for 35 years by neoliberalism and supply side economics and trickle down, the people are just beaten down. Like, they don't feel like you can't have anything nice. Why can we ever? You can't have anything liberal. What are you, crazy?
It's impractical.
Come on, grow up and sell out already.
Right.
So, and I was pointing out the other day that people don't realize how to the right the Clintons are. They started the DLC. So what happened in 1984 was that the Congress flipped to Republican. That was the first time it happened since FDR. So it scared the hell out of the Democrats. So they started this thing called the DLC, Democratic Leadership Council. Al Gore, Bill Clinton. Guess who else was on the executive committee of that? The two executives from the Koch Foundation.
Oh, David and Charles? Or no?
No, not
the bros.
Not the bros, but two other executives, vice presidents from the Koch Foundation were on the DLC executive board.
Wow.
So
it's a big tent, Jimmy. It's a big tent lined with gold.
So I tried to, there's three. So it's good that it seems like all at once, and only because of Bernie Sanders, is anybody talking about any of this stuff now, and they're starting to. But I think one of the most discouraging things that came out of this was I never imagined myself talking to other people who were Democrats who would start to sound like Bush supporters. I mean, using the same kind of logic and mental gymnastics, and ignoring of problems, and putting on blinders, and just dismissing dismissing reality. It is very disconcerting. That's the thing that bothers me the most.
Which part of it?
the part that the people who I used to consider or to see a lot of Democrats
totally
doing the same kind of mental gymnastics
or
as
the
Bush.
smearing. That's what shocks me. Like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone because I feel like there are people who I could trust politically and ethically and morally who are doing things that I can't believe they're doing. Like, do not come at us with accusations that Bernie Sanders is dishonest. Like
one guy.
It's so absurd. They are so brazen. And I want to do a correct the record corrector. Should we do that? You know, Correct the Record is this media machine that David Brock funds to harass people online. And what I can't stand is that progressives, and particularly feminists, who throw their support behind Hillary regardless. I mean, she could do whatever she wants. She could be Margaret Thatcher, I think.
Well, just as like the same thing with Barack Obama.
Yeah, I mean, I feel weirder about...
I mean, it is.
But here's the thing. Barack Obama... I love when people are like, well, were you critical of Barack Obama in 2008? And I was like, well, I voted for him because I thought he was better, and now I think Bernie Sanders is better. But,
that's true.
I love that feminists are just like, you know, I just thought it was interesting that she referenced Donald Trump, who said that she was playing the woman card. Because as we've played from our last a couple episodes ago, that's not fair to say that Donald Trump said that, because the person who really deserves credit for that is Bill Clinton, because he said that Obama was playing the race card back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was asked if he said why he said that they were playing the race card, he denied it on television, even though, unfortunately, it was on radio. So that's a great Clintonian thing. You just insist that you didn't say something. You try to shame the person asking you about it. Unfortunately, it was on the radio.
Well, the reason why I was mentioning about the comparison between Clinton and Obama was because people, pundits that are in the so-called progressive network over at MSNBC, with Melissa Harris Perry to Al Sharpton, all said publicly in some various cases saying that they would not speak ill towards Barack Obama.
Which doesn't actually do anyone a favor.
No, it doesn't.
And it's infantilizing. But there was an interesting thing. I don't know, Jimmy, if you saw this, but did you guys see last night that there was a big story about Bernie Sanders' quote-unquote concession speech?
Yeah, I don't think it was a concession speech.
Exactly. So I wrote something for Raw Story where it said basically Bernie Sanders, we're taking the campaign to the convention, media, he just threw in the towel, which literally is how they framed it. I mean, I saw all over on Twitter, online, that people were like, this is breaking news. Bernie Sanders just announced that he will not be seeking the nomination. Now, what I love about that assumption is that they're basically saying, since Bernie Sanders in this statement said that he was going to do all he could do to fight to make the Democratic Party a better party, then clearly that's mutually exclusive with pursuing the nomination.
Well, yeah, that doesn't make sense. And when people ask me if Bernie should drop out or all that stuff, I just say, hey, let's remember Bobby Kennedy got killed in June. So.
Oh, my God. We played that. You know, we may have to play some of these sound effects. I have them on my computer. But, yeah, of course. But, no, Jimmy, what you didn't do is you didn't pretend that you were going to mention June. The best thing about Hillary Clinton is saying, you know, my husband, this was in 2008 when she was asked why she didn't drop out. She says, you know, my husband, he didn't get the nomination until, what was it? June.
Yeah. And, I love how she pretended to be having to remember.
And then till June. And, of course, we all remember what happened in June, California. Bobby Kennedy was shot. Like, we really believe that this just popped into your head. That was just amazing. I mean, the fact that people, what I don't get also is how all these Obama fans don't, like, just forget that. And here I just want to share, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone because what I read in this statement, this is what he said. The people in every state in this country should have the right to determine who they want as president and what the agenda of the Democratic Party should be. That's why we are in this race until the last vote is cast. That is why this campaign is going to the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, with as many delegates as possible to fight for a progressive party platform that calls for a $15 an hour minimum wage, an end to our disastrous trade policies, a Medicare for all health care system, breaking up Wall Street financial institutions, ending fracking in our country, making public colleges and universities tuition-free, and passing a carbon tax so we can effectively address the planetary crisis of climate change. And this is how the media reported this. Rachel Maddow said, "It is fair to say that this Democratic contest is effectively over." Lawrence O'Donnell basically said the same thing. Matt Iglesias at Vox wrote, "Bernie Sanders' campaign just dropped a major hint that the race is over." Molly Ball at The Atlantic tweeted, "Bernie's statement admits he's no longer in this to get the nomination." And there are more. But how do people say that?
Is it because they're paid to say it?
I mean, that's what I was like, don't you pretend that you're not trying to create a self-fulfilling prophecy here?
I don't know if you saw the town hall on Monday night.
No, I need to. I wanted to.
Oh.
I have to.
But talk about, Rachel Maddow, which I'm sure it just could not have been less interested in what was going on.
Wasn't she interested at one point? What happened? Did she get a memo saying you need to calm down? Because I remember her saying some pretty pro-Bernie things. Not unprofessional, but pro-Bernie.
Well, you know what I think is interesting and what I often challenge, and I say I'm sure Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow, they're very nice people. I've never met either of them. I'm sure they're nice, and if he was dating my sister, I think Chris Hayes was a great guy. But here's the thing: we all know.
What about if Rachel Maddow was? Don't be heteronormative.
Same thing.
Okay,
if
good.
either of them were dating my sister,
Very
I'd be
good.
super happy.
Good.
I'd be super happy about it.
Yeah.
And so, but we all know that if you get a little too progressive, or if you say anything that costs a corporation money over at MSNBC, they will fire your ass. They fired Phil Donahue.
Right.
They fired Phil Donahue for talking about the Iraq war a little too loudly. They fired Ed Schultz recently for talking against the TPP a little too loudly, right?
Right.
So, and Cenk Uygur, host of the Young Turks, tells me stories about how they would tell him in his ear to do not criticize the president right now.
Right.
And
I was on Cenk's show when he was on MSNBC, so that didn't help either, having me on. Tarnished his name.
So, I forgot what my point was, but that was a great point I made.
We were talking about Maddow and Chris Hayes, and I think you were saying...
I always challenge them. I challenge them to, when are you going to say something that gets yourself fired?
Right. Right. I can't believe they don't take you up on that challenge, Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It would be, I don't know how much money they make, but it's certainly a lot.
Right.
I know Chris Matthews gets paid over $100,000 a week.
No, he doesn't.
Oh yeah, he does for sure.
He's one of my favorite comedians, Chris Matthews. I have to say, I do really love him.
He's one of the MSNBC blondes. Boy, they really don't compete with Fox.
Oh my God, that's really funny. He is the MSNBC blonde. That's such a great observation. Katie Tur's a little blonde, but not the platinum blonde.
I'm talking about their Mm-hmm.
He and Joe Lieberman have that beautiful skin color and hair color, are kind of indistinguishable thing going. Kind of a corpsey je ne sais quoi about it. Chris, please come on the show. And Joe, please come on the show. Jimmy, what are some of your favorite examples of media bias that you've seen over the course of the campaign?
Well, I mean, how about just the facts, right? The fact that they gave Donald Trump 81 minutes in ABC News and had literally given Bernie Sanders something like 81 seconds. That was I think done last November or something. They're like, let's look how much free media each person's gotten so far. And so I mean, right there, if you just look at the numbers, how much money how much time they're getting, and how much, last night. How about last night? Here's a perfect example. Last night, Bernie Sanders is giving a speech, and he's talking about the corrupting power of money in politics, and he's talking about big pharma and the oil companies and the war machine, and they don't show any of that. What are they showing on CNN? They literally had three boxes on the screen. One box was an empty podium at Trump's place. The other box was an empty podium at Clinton's rally, and then the other box had SE Cup on. Because how could you get through an election without that kind of enough? So so right there, you're like, really? And Bernie's actually giving a speech. The guy who's actually drawing 30,000 people who aren't racist, homicidal maniacs out to hear him give a speech You guys can't point a camera at that guy?
So,
and then people, so go ahead.
No, well, is it still Passover? I should know this as the only Jew in the room or on the phone. But if it is still Passover, that could be like overkill Elijah. You have to leave him an empty place. So that may be why they were leaving 2 like chairs for Elijah. Maybe this does better in among people who are better Jews than I am. And actually, no, we did have Passover, but that is absolutely insane. I kind of like that they're so overt about it, though.
So how does anybody who's not on Twitter know about Bernie Sanders?
Good
question. Because I do. I mean, I just watch him on Facebook.
And Facebook, yeah.
I'm just on Facebook all day long listening to Bernie Sanders speeches.
It's amazing. I was watching Chris Matthews' show the other day. I mean, it's easy to criticize Fox or the mainstream, but I'm watching what's supposed to be the liberal network, and he's sitting there with I think Michael Tomasi and somebody else.
Oh, from the Daily Beast.
Yeah, a panel of Bernie haters.
Yeah,
and they're sitting there and they're doing that thing about let's say Bernie does get elected, and then he's going to show up in Washington in January, and he's going to go, "Oh my God, Mitch McConnell's still there," and they all laugh.
Oh my God!
Like he doesn't know. So here is some overpaid news jagoff trying to talking about a 2-term senator, right? 2-term senator who has nicknamed the Amendment King, and he's saying that he doesn't know how legislation works.
Right. The Amendment King. Everyone pay attention to that. He was nicknamed the Amendment King. Not sarcastically, guys. It was not an ironic nickname. Yeah.
And somehow he doesn't know, and they talk about, well, he's a tie to the Hillary bill to work with the Republicans. Let me tell you something. The only thing she's going to be able to work with the Republicans on is getting Republican stuff done. Let's remember that her husband deregulated Wall Street for him, and then they still impeached him.
Yeah, I know. It's like he tried to do good by them, right? He tried to do right by them, and they still impeached him.
And they still impeached him. So that's how much, actually... It's so funny because it's oftentimes the exact opposite of what people believe is true. Exactly. They think, oh, well, Hillary will be able to work with Congress. They hate Hillary. They've been vilifying Hillary for 30 years.
Right.
Now, if any of them work with her, it's like working with the devil. They can't. They. By the way, Barack Obama just nominated a Republican to the Supreme Court. Can't even get him a hearing.
Right.
So where's all this great legislators coming from out of the Obama administration? But somehow Bernie Sanders is this wide-eyed knucklehead who doesn't know how to get stuff done.
Right, pie in the sky. But also, people are trying to use the fact that he has this anti-establishment appeal against him. I think they're trying to make him look like just another Trump. To me, that's like one of the best arguments for his electability.
I agree with you. Well, I agree with you 100%, right? And it's I do always wince at the when people do look, they got the same kind of outsider. They're not the same.
No, it's not the same at all. As Bob Scheer said on our show, one of them is they're both critiquing the system, and one's doing it in a progressive way, the other one's doing it in a neo-fascist way.
Yes, exactly. But Hillary, get ready. But what I say to Democrats is that do you want to spend the next 4 years defending Hillary, or do you want to spend it fighting with Bernie? You know what I mean? Because that's what it's going to come down to. And by the way, I really think, Hillary is my favorite presidential candidate, potentially under indictment.
Yeah, that's true. She's top 5 at least. Top 5 favorite.
Did you hear what Chuck Grassley said yesterday? He said that because the same FBI investigators that investigated David Petraeus they're investigating Hillary. And so they were upset that Petraeus got a slap on the wrist. This is what Chuck Grassley said, and that they feel like if Hillary gets away with this, they're going to leak the story. They're going to leak the documents, and they're going to leak the story. And he said there's scores of FBI guys working or FBI agents working on the case who said this.
Guys, if you need some interns, I'll donate. If you need some research, I'll donate. I can file. I can collate. I'm not above any of that.
So, as she famously said, hey, let's remember Bobby Kennedy got assassinated in June in California. She could get indicted in June in California.
Yeah,
and
maybe May.
Fingers crossed. Certainly. And Barack Obama, in his wisdom, decided to appoint to the head of the FBI a Republican.
Bipartisan.
about, look at him being bipartisan, put a Republican in charge of the FBI. And so that guy probably will wait till after the Democratic convention to indict her, if he's going to indict her.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So what can be done? What are we going to do? And are you going to vote for... I said I got so much pushback. I was on Sirius Radio the other day. I did Pete Dominic's show, Stand Up with Pete. And I said I was going to vote. I'm burning or bust in New York, at least, right? I can confidently say it's an easy decision. I'll vote for Jill Stein or I'll write in Bernie Sanders. And, of course, these people call in and they're like, how could you do that? You're going to give him the election. You're going to give Trump the election. And I was like, did you not hear the part where I said it's in New York? He's like, well, I don't know how that works. I was like, okay, all right. And okay, then I can't really be mad at you.
Okay, well, I see. I take a little different tack than a lot of people. I don't see if Hillary can count on your vote,
right.
they'll never. If the establishment can count on your vote for you to support them with your vote, then they'll never change. That's the whole point of Bernie Sanders. Is you're not going to keep supporting corruption anymore. I think that's the point anyway. I'm not going to vote for Hillary. I'm not going to vote for corruption. I saw somebody wagging their finger saying, "Hey, you're de facto. You're voting for Trump then.
Right.
Nice going." I go, really? You're wagging your finger at someone who says he's voting their conscience and won't vote for corruption, and you're wagging your finger at that person? What nicely done. I'm not going to support corruption. I'm never going to vote for neoliberals again. So, and by the way, people are afraid of Trump. I'm not afraid of Trump because here's what happens, right? If Trump becomes president, in 2 years, the House and the Senate flip to Democrat and progressives, right? And then in 4 years, we get a progressive. But if it goes the other way, we are screwed. If Hillary's president, in 2 years, the House and Senate go even farther Republican. And in 4 years, she's out of there, and we get a Republican, and then we're really screwed. So if you want to screw up the progressive chance of ever having control of government, vote for Hillary. Because it's worse. That's my theory anyway. What do you think of that?
I love that idea. So you're saying that the Republicans' long game is to get Hillary in office to get even more, to go further to the right in the next 4 years.
Certainly the Kochs. Certainly the Kochs feel that way.
Which is who I'm talking about.
Right.
Koch bros.
Yeah. Thanks for the endorsement.
Yeah.
Thanks for the endorsement, Koch bros.
I mean, let me tell you something. They're much more happy if Hillary wins than Donald Trump because they can control Hillary. Yeah. They can't control Donald Trump.
He's a loose cannon. A bit of a loose cannon, yeah. Although I find him less scary than Ted Cruz.
I find Donald Trump less scary than Ted. People are afraid. Ted Cruz is the true maniac.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's actually entered legislation to ban Muslims from America.
He's the sociopath. He's the smart sociopath.
Yes. He's the guy who went... Yeah, he's the guy who went to law school.
I know. And
Robert Reich mentioned that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. He said that he feels that Cruz is a lot more
scarier.
Crazier.
Well, this is actually a bizarre anecdote, but guess what play Ted Cruz was in at law when he was at law school? Was it Princeton or Harvard Law? Was that Harvard Law? Guess what play?
Springtime for Hitler?
No, but that would have been amazing. The Crucible, the Arthur Miller anti-Red Scare allegory. Isn't that insane? I think he played one of the bad guys, so maybe he was like trying to get into character.
I really want to encourage people not to freak out about a Donald Trump presidency. So here's what happens. If he becomes president, you'll have all the Democrats united, all the independents united with the Democrats, plus a lot of Republicans with them in opposition to Trump. If Hillary president, now you have her in bed with the Republicans doing their bidding. You're going to have to fight all the Republicans plus Hillary.
Right. So what do you say? Do you ever get accused of being like privileged? And I'm sure you hear this all the time. Your male privilege, your white privilege. What's your response to that when people say that, like, oh, it's easy for you to say because you're not going to be kicked out of the country?
Yeah. I say that, you got to play the longer game. You can't be knee-jerk. You can't vote out of fear. And I certainly didn't grow up privileged.
Right.
I grew up the youngest of 12 kids in the city. I had, so I certainly grew up poor and all that stuff. And I've never had, I've certainly had white privilege.
Right.
I certainly know what that feels like.
You never Rachel Dolezal yourself?
No, I never did that, but I do like to wear a suit jacket when I'm walking around Manhattan, and cops treat you a lot nicer.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I should try that. Gabe, is that true? Have you experienced that?
I love, dress shoes and a nice
Dress
jacket.
shoes.
No one stops you.
Jimmy, when you asked me when I did the show, you asked me basically like why would you vote for Hillary Clinton even in a swing state, and you brought up the neoliberal regime that we have had for a while, and I was saying something like I think part of the reason it's so hard for people to not vote for the lesser of two evils is because they can't really. It requires some long-term thinking, right? And you may not even live to reap the benefits of it. Hopefully, we would, but. You don't. I mean, the what is it? The arc towards justice is long, but it bends towards justice. I'm going to get that. That's a totally incorrect paraphrasing of a Martin Luther King quote, which is always a good look. But I started thinking like that's kind of the environmental thing, right? With the environment, I know that we have to think long term. If we don't think long term, we're just destroying the planet, right? So, it's kind of a similar thing with politics. And so we have to go through maybe growing pains, right? We have to deprive ourselves of certain products or certain luxuries so that we save the earth. So maybe we have to deprive ourselves of certain, I don't know what the analogy would be. Like, that's what makes it hard, though. I think that's what I was trying to get to. It makes it hard because I won't be deprived as much as other people. But
first of all, I mean, again,
but I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just grappling with it.
First of all, Barack Obama, according to Fusion, they're saying that Barack Obama has deported more people of all the presidents combined since 1891. That's from Fusion. They also said that everybody's afraid of Trump, but Barack Obama is doing what Trump only promises to do. He's already doing it.
Right. It's true. That's actually true. He's deported way more people than Bush. We had Greg Grandin talk about this. It's really brutal.
I mean, what is Trump going to do that everybody is so goddamn afraid of? I mean, the stuff is already being done. Ted Cruz has already entered legislation to ban all Muslims. They've already outsourced jobs. They're already in bed with Wall Street. Barack Obama already offered to cut Social Security, and the Republicans turned it down.
Right.
So my point is, Hillary gets in there, it's going to be no picnic. She's going to be doing a lot of stuff that we're all going to be fighting against anyway.
Right.
And that's the problem. It's just like with Occupy, because Barack Obama if he wasn't president, if it was a Republican president, that would have been so much stronger than it was, because Barack Obama split that, right? So then you have all these people going on MSNBC going, well, those Occupy people need to learn how politics works.
Right.
They need to learn how politics works and need to register to vote. No, I think they know how politics works.
Right, that's why they're out there.
Yeah.
And I saw this on Instagram. I put it on Instagram, but it's a guy holding a sign that says, if you really think the environment is less important than the economy, try holding your breath while you count your money.
Ah, that's a great
sign. Which
I
really liked. And it kind of made me think of the question that you had raised in terms of the long-term solution versus the short-term. And
but I think it gets better right away. In a sense, it gets worse if Hillary's president. And then I don't think it gets as worse if Trump's president, like for the reason I said.
Right.
It coalesces all the people in opposition to him, plus you pick off Republicans.
Right.
Last night after the primaries, I made a little T-chart. Walter White did this in Breaking Bad when he was like, should I kill this guy or not? And he made a little T-chart. And with Hillary and Trump, I made a little T-chart. And I was like, who has had a worse impact on who's done worse stuff so far?
Hillary.
And looking at it, she's had more time in office, and we already know what some of her policies have the impact they've had negatively on people.
Right. It's her experience that's the problem. When people talk about her foreign policy experience, I'm like, yeah, what do you think I'm afraid of?
Yeah, it's like what Trump's had some casinos, and sure, that's affected a small group of people who are addicted to gambling negatively. And he said some bad things about people in New York, but it's affect.
It's affect.
Well, those casinos did go out of business.
No, Jimmy, what do you think the potential is moving forward? What do you think could happen? And do you think a third party thing is a good idea or a possibility?
The hope was that Trump was going to feel screwed over by the Republicans, and they weren't going to give him the nomination, which it looks like they're going to give it to him now.
Right.
And so then he would, in retaliation, was going to go independent. That opened the door for Bernie,
right,
to go independent, and he would win. But if Trump doesn't do that, I'm sure Bernie still might not have done it then either.
Right.
but he certainly won't do it if Trump. He just won't do it.
Right. So then, what power does he have by staying in? What can he achieve?
Well, I mean, I don't know how that works. Usually what politicians do is they negotiate something for themselves personally.
Right.
Like when Hillary Clinton negotiated to get Secretary of State. Now, I have no evidence, but that's my theory.
Yeah, of course that's what happened. Yeah. There's no, he never would have, he wouldn't have been like, hey, woman who race baited me for a long time, I really want to hire you. You and your husband, yeah. But I'm one of these weird progressives who actually wants centrist hawks to be pulled to the left, so I'm thrilled he's staying in. Call me crazy. Jimmy Dore, thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to have you back. Also, come in person when you're in New York City wearing a nice jacket.
Will do. Thanks for having me on. It's great being here.
Great. Hey, check us out on Facebook. Join the groups for the Katie Halper Show.
And on iTunes. And Gabe's show every Wednesday, Funhouse Comedy. And I will be in the Penn Festival Saturday night. I'm moderating a conversation with Fran Lebowitz and Richard Price, and then a Mexican cabaret after. I'll put it on the Twitter and the Facebook. And come to our live show next Wednesday. That's 7:30 next Wednesday at 388 Atlantic at the Brooklyn Commons. It's free. Jordan Chariton will be there. Premila Nadison. So many more. Bye.
Bye.